Have you ever wondered why people, despite their best intentions, often fall short of your expectations? It is easy to believe that we understand those around us, but the truth is far more complex. Human behavior is not always driven by logic or reason, and more often than not, we are surprised by how others act in ways we never anticipated. In life, you will encounter people who disappoint, misjudge, or even hurt you. But should this disturb your peace? No. Bookmark. Go back. As Stoics, we recognize that the only constant in life is change, especially when it comes to human nature. People are unpredictable, sometimes acting out of insecurity, fear, or self-interest. Accepting this harsh reality is not a resignation to cynicism. It is the key to unlocking deeper compassion and understanding. When we strip away our idealized expectations of others, we can see them as they truly are, flawed, complex, but ultimately just like us. Stoicism is not about withdrawing from the world or expecting perfection from others. It teaches us to embrace humanity as it is, with all its contradictions and imperfections. In doing so, we find that the faults of others no longer have the power to disturb our inner tranquility. Instead, we can navigate relationships with wisdom and grace, letting go of judgments and focusing on what truly matters, our own reactions, our own growth. Today, let us explore the often uncomfortable 10 truths about human nature, not to despair, but to find strength. Together, we will delve into the lessons that Stoic philosophy offers, lessons that teach us to accept, adapt, and ultimately thrive in the face of life's challenges. Are you ready to face these truths with an open mind and resilient heart? Let us begin this journey into the essence of what it means to be human. Number 1, people are often self-interested. Have you ever felt let down when someone acted in their own interest, even at your expense? We've all experienced this. Friends who forget their promises, colleagues who prioritize their gain, or even loved ones who, in moments of weakness, choose themselves over you. It is tempting to judge these actions harshly, to feel betrayed or wronged. But should we be so quick to condemn? From a Stoic perspective, self-interest is not a flaw in human character. It is a fundamental truth of existence. People are driven by their own needs and desires, often unconsciously. To expect otherwise is to deny the nature of humanity itself. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that men exist for the sake of one another, but this does not mean they act without personal motive. In fact, much of what we call selfishness is merely survival, the instinct to protect oneself, to secure comfort, to seek fulfillment. Understanding this truth allows us to release the burden of disappointment. When we accept that people are guided by their own interests, we no longer take their actions personally. Instead, we see their behavior for what it is, a reflection of their own struggles, fears, and desires, not a reflection of our worth. The challenge, then, is not to resent this self-interest, but to navigate it with wisdom. How do we balance our own needs with those of others? How can we foster relationships that respect both parties' desires without falling into the trap of selfishness or resentment? The answer lies in Stoicism's emphasis on mutual respect and rational understanding. Just as we seek our own peace, we must allow others the space to pursue theirs. In every relationship, be it friendship, love, or professional, we must ask ourselves, am I expecting more than is reasonable? When we expect others to act against their nature, we set ourselves up for disappointment. But when we understand that self-interest is neither good nor bad, it simply is, we free ourselves from unnecessary pain. The next time you feel betrayed by someone's self-serving actions, pause and reflect. Instead of reacting with anger or hurt, ask yourself, what can I control in this situation? How can I respond with wisdom rather than emotion? By doing so, you will rise above the limitations of human nature, finding peace where others find conflict. In the end, recognizing that people are often self-interested is not an excuse for poor behavior, but an invitation to greater compassion and understanding. We are all on this journey, seeking what we believe will bring us happiness. Let us guide ourselves and others toward a path that balances personal needs with mutual respect, for this is the Stoic way. Number 2. Reactions to stress reveal true character. Have you ever noticed how a person's true nature emerges when they are under pressure? Stress has a remarkable ability to strip away the masks we wear, revealing the core of who we are. In calm waters, it is easy to appear composed, rational, even kind. But when life's storms hit, when deadlines loom, conflicts arise, or unexpected crises strike, how do we react? It is here in the crucible of stress that our true character is forged and revealed. Some remain calm, steady as the Stoic philosopher teaches, while others crumble, their anxieties and frustrations bubbling to the surface. Yet should we judge them harshly for it? Or should we instead use this moment of vulnerability as a window into their soul, a chance to see their humanity laid bare? As Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Stress itself is not the enemy. It is a test, an opportunity to witness the truth of a person's inner strength or lack thereof. It is during these moments that we see who is guided by wisdom and who is driven by impulse. But this truth is not just for observing others, it is also for observing ourselves. How often do we look back on a stressful moment with regret, wishing we had acted with more patience, more clarity? Stress is inevitable. It touches all of us, but it does not control us. The Stoic path teaches us that while we cannot stop the waves, we can learn to sail through them with grace. When stress comes, do we anchor ourselves in reason, or are we swept away by the emotional tides? The next time you find yourself, or someone else, reacting poorly to stress, remember, this is a moment of insight, not condemnation. See it as an opportunity to grow, to reflect. Ask yourself, what does this reveal about my character? And more importantly, how can I improve? In the face of stress, some will rise and some will fall. But the Stoic way teaches that true strength lies not in avoiding stress, but in transforming it into a tool for self-improvement. When we learn to face adversity with calm, we not only protect our inner peace, but inspire others to find their own. So I ask you, the next time life tests you, how will you respond? Will you let the storm break you, or will you use it to reveal your inner strength? As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Let the stress of life be your guide, showing you where you need to grow and helping you become the person you are meant to be. Number 3. Judgment is innate, but often flawed. Have you ever caught yourself making a quick judgment, only to realize later how wrong you were? It is one of the most human tendencies to judge quickly, almost instinctively. From the moment we meet someone, our minds are busy forming conclusions, often without full understanding. Yet how often do these judgments miss the mark, clouded by bias, emotion, or incomplete knowledge? Judgment is natural, an ancient survival tool embedded in our nature. We judge to protect ourselves, to navigate the complexities of social interaction. But here lies the paradox. The judgments we rely on so heavily are often flawed. They are shaped not by truth but by perception, a perception influenced by our own insecurities, past experiences, and the ever-present desire to be right. As Stoics, we must recognize this truth. Judgment, when left unchecked, becomes a barrier to wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's great voices, reminds us, you always own the option of having no opinion. In other words, the wise man understands that rushing to judgment often leads to misunderstanding. Instead, we are called to pause, to observe, and to withhold judgment until we have all the facts, if indeed judgment is required at all. Consider how much peace we could preserve if we practiced restraint in judgment. How many conflicts, misunderstandings, and broken relationships arise from a hasty conclusion drawn too soon? How many people have we dismissed or mistreated because we allowed a fleeting thought to harden into an unshakable belief? Judgment may feel like certainty, but it often blinds us to deeper truths. Imagine walking past a beggar on the street. Your immediate thought might be one of dismissal. They must have made poor choices. But Stoic wisdom urges us to pause. Do we know their story? Have we lived their life? As Epictetus taught, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Could we learn something about our own limitations by withholding judgment and reflecting on our biases instead? This is not an invitation to naivety, but to clarity. By recognizing the limits of our perspective, we open ourselves to a deeper, more compassionate understanding of others and of ourselves. The true Stoic does not see the world in black and white, but embraces the complexity of human nature. So before you pass judgment on others, ask yourself, do I have all the information? Am I acting from a place of understanding or merely reacting to my assumptions? In that pause, you create space for wisdom. You free yourself from the trap of false certainty and step closer to the Stoic ideal of clarity and peace. Judgment will always be with us, but wisdom lies in tempering it with reflection and compassion. The next time you are tempted to judge, remember, true mastery of the mind comes not from judging others, but from understanding them. Seek not to control the world through your judgments, but to understand it, and in doing so, you will find both truth and tranquility. Number 4. People have different values, and that's okay. Have you ever found yourself frustrated when someone else simply didn't share your values? When what seemed important, even sacred to you, held no meaning for them? This is a common experience in life. We expect others to see the world as we do, to share our beliefs, our priorities, our sense of right and wrong. Yet time and again, we are reminded that values differ, and sometimes starkly. But is this difference something to fear, to resent, or can it be an opportunity for growth? As a Stoic, I tell you, the diversity of values is not a threat, but a strength. It is through this variety that we enrich our understanding of humanity. Seneca once wrote, "There is nothing more admirable than seeing the different ways in which people seek the good life." Each person walks their own path, guided by the values that reflect their experiences, their culture, and their inner world. To expect everyone to hold the same values as you is to expect the world to mirror your own reflection, a narrow view that traps us in misunderstanding. Stoicism teaches us to embrace what is within our control and to release what is not. Other people's values are not within our control. What is within our power is our response to those differences. Will we choose to judge, to condemn, to distance ourselves from those whose values diverge from ours? Or will we choose instead to seek understanding, to find common ground, and to respect the variety that makes life so rich? Consider the example of a colleague whose ambition drives them to prioritize career success above all else, while you may value balance, peace, and time with family. Neither perspective is inherently right or wrong. They are simply different. The Stoic way teaches us to accept these differences with grace, recognizing that each person's values are shaped by their unique journey. As Marcus Aurelius observed, the universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. In this ever-changing world, it is our duty to cultivate tolerance, to allow others to pursue their version of the good life, even if it differs from our own. This acceptance does not mean abandoning your values. It means holding them firmly while allowing others to do the same. True wisdom lies not in forcing conformity, but in respecting the diversity of thought and action that surrounds us. In this way, we build stronger, more harmonious relationships founded on mutual respect rather than mutual agreement. The next time you encounter someone whose values clash with yours, pause. Ask yourself, what can I learn from their perspective? How can this difference deepen my own understanding of the world? In doing so, you open the door to empathy, to wisdom, and to peace. Let us remember then that people have different values, and that's okay. It is not our task to change them, but to understand them, and through that understanding, we elevate not only ourselves, but all of humanity. Number 5. Many people project their emotions onto others. Have you ever noticed how, in moments of anger, frustration, or fear, people often accuse others of the very emotions they themselves are feeling? This is the subtle, yet powerful phenomenon of projection, where our inner turmoil finds its way onto others, casting them in a role they never intended to play. But have you ever stopped to wonder, am I truly seeing the other person, or am I merely seeing a reflection of my own mind? Projection is a common trap of the human condition, and few recognize how deeply it distorts our understanding of others. When we are anxious, we assume others are as tense as we are. When we harbor resentment, we begin to see it in the faces of those around us. We project our fears, our insecurities, and even our anger onto the world, and in doing so, we blind ourselves to reality. But should we allow this distortion to rule our perceptions? No. As Stoics, we are called to practice emotional self-awareness, to examine our own minds before we judge others. Marcus Aurelius warned us to look inward, because it is there that both the root of our suffering and its solution lie. When we fail to recognize our own emotions, we risk placing the burden of those feelings onto others, distorting not just our relationships, but our very understanding of the world. But how do we guard against this natural tendency? The first step is reflection. When you find yourself irritated by someone else's behavior, pause and ask, is this truly their fault, or is this a reflection of my own inner state? Are you seeing the situation as it is, or through the lens of your own emotions? This simple act of self-examination can reveal much about your own mind and protect you from making false judgments about others. Consider the example of a colleague who seems distant. You might interpret their quietness as indifference or coldness, projecting your own stress or insecurities onto them. Yet, Stoic wisdom urges you to pause. What if their silence has nothing to do with you? What if they, too, are navigating their own internal struggles, completely separate from your assumptions? The Stoic path teaches us that we are not responsible for the emotions of others, nor should we let their projected emotions affect our peace. We are responsible only for our own reactions. Epictetus reminds us that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This includes how we react to others' emotions, whether real or imagined. If someone projects their frustration onto you, it is not your duty to absorb it. Instead, recognize it for what it is, a reflection of their state, not yours. The next time you feel tension rising in a conversation or relationship, pause and reflect. What am I projecting? How much of this conflict stems from within me? By mastering this self-awareness, we not only protect our peace, but we also cultivate greater empathy for others. We begin to see them as they truly are, flawed, yes, but also deserving of understanding, just as we are. Projection may be a natural human tendency, but Stoic wisdom teaches us to rise above it. Let us not burden others with our own unresolved emotions. Instead, let us seek clarity within ourselves, for in doing so we see the world and those around us with clearer, kinder eyes. Number 6, insecurity drives much of human behavior. Have you ever wondered why people act out, criticize, or withdraw without reason? Beneath the surface of many human interactions lies a quiet force that shapes behavior more than we realize: insecurity. It is the silent architect of many decisions, guiding people to protect themselves from perceived threats, often ones that do not exist. When we are insecure, we act from a place of fear, not strength. We lash out in anger, not because we are truly offended, but because we are afraid of being diminished. We retreat into silence, not because we have nothing to say, but because we fear being misunderstood or judged. Insecurity for many is a constant companion, driving them to seek approval, validation, or superiority. But here's the truth. It is not others we are fighting, it is ourselves. As Stoics, we recognize that insecurity is deeply human, yet it is also an obstacle to peace and growth. We must not let it control us. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, it is in your power to withdraw into yourself whenever you desire. Perfect tranquility consists in the good ordering of the mind. To conquer insecurity, we must first confront it within ourselves. We must ask, what am I truly afraid of? What do I lack that makes me feel so unsettled? Insecurity arises when we hinge our sense of worth on things beyond our control, on others' opinions, on material success, or on fleeting achievements. Yet, Stoic philosophy teaches us to root our value in what is unshakable, our character, our virtues, our inner strength. When we know who we are, deeply and without doubt, the judgments of others lose their sting. We no longer seek external validation, for we have built our fortress within. But this understanding must extend beyond ourselves. Insecurity is not only something we battle within, it is something we must recognize in others. Often, the sharp words, the dismissive tone, the need to outshine or belittle, these are all signals of insecurity masked as confidence. The Stoic mind, trained in compassion, sees this not as a reason for retaliation, but as a call for empathy. Epictetus said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. When others act from insecurity, it is not your duty to react. It is your opportunity to understand. Imagine someone close to you, a friend, a colleague, or even a family member, who frequently criticizes or compares themselves to others. Rather than feeling threatened by their actions, pause. What is the insecurity behind their words? Could it be that they seek acknowledgement, that their need to diminish others stems from a lack of self-worth? When we recognize insecurity in others, we do not judge them. Instead, we offer them the understanding they might not even extend to themselves. But make no mistake, empathy for insecurity does not mean tolerating it in ourselves. To live in constant fear of judgment, to allow insecurity to dictate our actions, is to live enslaved by the very thing we seek to escape. The Stoic path calls for freedom. Freedom from the opinions of others, freedom from the need to prove ourselves, and ultimately, freedom from the insecurity that clouds our judgment and limits our potential. So I ask you, where in your life does insecurity still whisper in your ear? What fears hold you back from acting with clarity and confidence? When you confront this within yourself, you unlock the power to confront it in others with grace and wisdom. And in doing so, you free yourself from the chains of doubt, embracing the peace that comes from knowing that your worth is unshakable. Remember, insecurity drives much of human behavior, but it does not have to drive yours. Let Stoicism be your guide in cultivating inner strength, and watch as the need for validation fades, replaced by the quiet confidence that comes from true self-knowledge. Number 7. People may not always celebrate your success. Have you ever achieved something great only to find that not everyone around you shares in your joy? Perhaps a friend was unusually quiet, or a colleague offered only faint praise, their smile not quite reaching their eyes. It's a strange and uncomfortable feeling, realizing that, in moments of triumph, not everyone is rooting for you. But should this dim your success? Should it trouble your peace? No. As Stoics, we understand that the reactions of others are beyond our control. There will always be those who, rather than celebrating your victories, feel threatened by them. But here's the truth you must accept. People's inability to rejoice in your success says far more about them than it does about you. Envy, insecurity, and self-doubt often lurk beneath the surface of a smile. And when these emotions stir, some will be unable to offer you the sincere congratulations you deserve. It is not your fault, nor is it your burden to carry. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, take care not to hurt others, but never be hurt by them. In other words, the envy or resentment others may feel in response to your success does not need to disturb your inner tranquility. Their reaction is theirs, a reflection of their internal struggles, not a reflection of your worth. You are not responsible for how others respond to your achievements. You are only responsible for how you respond to their response. This does not mean we judge those who cannot celebrate with us. No, the Stoic path is one of understanding, not condemnation. When others struggle to find joy in our success, we should pause and recognize the possible source, their own sense of inadequacy or fear. Success often casts a harsh light on the areas where others feel they have fallen short. To be reminded of one's own perceived failures in the glow of another's achievement can be painful. And so, rather than allowing this to affect you, let it be an opportunity for compassion. However, we must also guard ourselves against the need for external validation. The moment we allow others' approval to dictate our joy, we become slaves to opinions we cannot control. True success is not defined by the applause of others, but by the satisfaction and fulfillment it brings to your own soul. Epictetus taught that it is not the things themselves that disturb people, but their judgments about those things. In the same way, it is not the lack of celebration that should disturb you, but your desire for it. Free yourself from this need, and you will find that your joy becomes unshakable, rooted deeply within, rather than dependent on the fleeting approval of others. Ask yourself, when you succeed, do you crave the validation of others? And when it does not come, does your joy diminish? If so, this is a call to return inward, to strengthen your sense of self-worth, to realize that the true measure of success lies in your own integrity and growth, not in the praise of those around you. The next time you reach a milestone and feel that someone's reaction falls short, pause and reflect. Do not let their silence dampen your spirit. Understand that their response is theirs to carry, not yours. Celebrate your success fully, knowing that your journey is not dependent on the acknowledgement of others. Number 8. Trust is hard to build, easy to break. Have you ever placed your trust in someone, only to watch it shatter with a single act of betrayal? Trust, fragile as glass, takes years to forge and mere moments to destroy. Yet, as painful as betrayal may be, we must remember that trust, like all things external, lies beyond our complete control. Should we allow its loss to rob us of our peace? As Stoics, we understand that while trust is foundational to human relationships, it is also delicate and vulnerable to the imperfections of human nature. We all have experienced it, the slow, careful construction of trust, built on consistent actions, honesty, and shared values. But even the most solid foundation can be eroded by a single lapse in judgment or a moment of weakness. This is the nature of trust, hard to build, easy to break. But let us not dwell in despair when trust is broken. Instead, we must turn inward and ask ourselves, what can I control in this situation? Can I control another's actions, their choices, or their failings? No. All we can govern is our own response. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. In moments when trust is shattered, our Stoic duty is not to seek retribution or fall into the same cycle of dishonesty and bitterness. Our task is to rise above, to maintain our virtue even in the face of disappointment. However, this does not mean we give our trust away blindly. Trust, once broken, should not be immediately mended with empty forgiveness. The Stoic mind understands the value of patience and discernment. Seneca said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." Trust must be earned through actions, not words. A single apology does not rebuild what has been broken. It is through consistent integrity, through demonstrated change, that trust is restored. And even then, it may never return to its original form. And that is okay. We must also reflect on our role in trust's delicate dance. Are we placing our trust too freely? Are we expecting perfection from imperfect beings? The reality is, to trust is to take a risk, one that may lead to deep connection or to deep hurt. But should this risk paralyze us? Should we withhold trust altogether? No. To live without trust is to live in isolation, to barricade ourselves from the richness of human connection. The Stoic accepts the risk, knowing full well that trust may be broken, but choosing to engage in relationships with clarity and wisdom rather than cynicism. When trust is lost, do not let it destroy your faith in humanity, nor your faith in yourself. Recognize it as a part of life's ebb and flow. People will fail you, just as you may fail others. The key is to not let these moments of failure define your peace of mind. As Epictetus taught, circumstances don't make the man, they only reveal him to himself. A breach of trust, then, is an opportunity to reveal your strength, your ability to forgive wisely, to set boundaries without bitterness, and to continue on your path without the heavy weight of resentment. Ask yourself, how do I handle broken trust? Do I allow it to harden my heart, or do I learn from it, growing wiser but still open to future relationships? Trust may be fragile, but it is also an essential part of our existence. To live without it is to deny ourselves the opportunity for deep, meaningful connections. Remember this: trust is hard to build, easy to break, but within the Stoic heart, it is neither a source of bitterness nor fear. It is simply a reflection of the human condition, imperfect, ever-changing, and a reminder that true strength lies not in controlling others, but in mastering ourselves. Number 9. Empathy is a rare and powerful gift. Have you ever encountered someone in pain, yet found yourself unsure of how to respond? The ability to truly understand another's suffering, to step into their world and see through their eyes, this is empathy, one of the most profound and rare qualities we can possess. But how often do we wield it? How often do we pause, look beyond our own concerns, and truly feel the weight another person carries? Empathy, when practiced, is nothing short of a powerful gift. It has the power to heal wounds, bridge divides, and connect souls in a world where disconnection reigns. Yet, it is also a gift seldom given. Why? Because to practice empathy is to be vulnerable, to momentarily set aside our own desires, judgments, and biases. It requires us to open ourselves to the suffering of others, a challenge that not everyone is willing to face. As Stoics, we are called to practice this rare gift, for empathy aligns deeply with our philosophy of understanding human nature without judgment. Marcus Aurelius, ever wise, wrote, "Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question: what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I'm about to criticize?" This simple reflection turns judgment into understanding, and understanding into empathy. For who among us has not erred? Who has not felt lost, misunderstood, or in need of compassion? But let us be clear, empathy is not pity. It is a quiet strength, a decision to recognize the shared humanity that binds us all. When we see someone struggling, instead of dismissing their pain or judging their weakness, the Stoic way is to recognize ourselves in them. For we too have struggled. We too have felt pain. Empathy teaches us to understand that everyone is fighting a battle, some visible, others hidden beneath the surface. And to approach them with kindness rather than condemnation is to act with wisdom and grace. Consider a situation where a colleague, overwhelmed with personal stress, lashes out in frustration. Your first instinct may be to take offense, to react with anger. But pause, what if, instead, you chose empathy? What if you understood that their reaction, though hurtful, stems from a deeper source of pain, insecurity, or confusion? This is not to excuse harmful behavior, but to acknowledge that most people act from their wounds, not from their strength. By meeting their struggle with empathy, you not only preserve your own peace, but offer them a lifeline, a reminder that they are seen, heard, and understood. In practicing empathy, we do more than soothe others, we grow ourselves. Epictetus taught that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. When we listen, truly listen, we discover the complexity of the human soul, the hidden fears, the unspoken desires, the vulnerabilities that shape each person's actions. And in that discovery, we become not just better Stoics, but better human beings. But let me warn you, empathy is not always easy. It requires patience and humility. It asks us to set aside our ego, to stop seeing others through the narrow lens of our own needs. Yet when we cultivate it, empathy becomes a source of immense power. It is the glue that holds relationships together, the bridge that spans divides, and the salve that heals the deepest wounds. In a world where harshness and judgment often come too quickly, empathy stands as a rare and priceless treasure. Ask yourself, when was the last time you truly practiced empathy? Not as a fleeting gesture, but as a deliberate, mindful act of connection. How did it change the situation? How did it transform you? Empathy, dear listener, is a gift that not only enriches the lives of others, but also deepens our own understanding of the human experience. To empathize is to see the world through a Stoic lens, one that embraces the complexity of life without judgment. Let it be a tool of strength, not weakness, and a path to wisdom in all your interactions. Number 10. People change, but often only when they choose to. Have you ever tried to change someone, tried to guide them, help them see the error of their ways, only to realize that your efforts were in vain? We all desire to see those we care about grow, improve, and move beyond their flaws. But here is a truth that may be difficult to accept. People change only when they choose to. You can offer advice, extend a hand, even pour your heart into their struggles, but unless the individual is ready, true transformation will not occur. Should this dishearten us? No, because as Stoics we recognize that the power to change resides solely within each person's own will. You cannot carry the burden of another's growth. Marcus Aurelius wisely observed, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, your energy is best spent refining your own character rather than trying to force change in others. We must remember that change, true change, begins from within. No matter how much we may wish to guide someone toward a better path, it is their choice, their journey, and their responsibility. You may plant seeds, but it is up to them to nurture them. But why do people resist change, even when it is clearly in their best interest? The answer lies in the comfort of the familiar. Humans cling to what they know, even if it leads to suffering, because the unknown change brings with it uncertainty, fear, and vulnerability. Epictetus reminds us that it is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things. To many, the prospect of change feels like a threat, even when the change could lead to growth and liberation. So what can you do in the face of someone's resistance to change? The Stoic response is simple yet profound. Lead by example. You cannot force another person to evolve, but you can show them the way through your own actions. Live with virtue, show resilience in adversity, and remain calm in the face of challenges. Your example becomes a quiet invitation for others to reflect on their own lives. Your strength, your peace, may spark the desire for change in them, but the choice will always be theirs to make. In relationships, whether personal or professional, frustration often arises when we expect others to change on our timeline. But this is an expectation we must release. The Stoic does not seek to control others. Instead, we accept them as they are, and if they choose to change, it is a gift born from their own will, not our demands. However, this acceptance does not mean passive tolerance of harmful behavior. Boundaries must be set. If someone's refusal to change brings negativity into your life, the Stoic path allows for distance, not out of anger or frustration, but out of wisdom and self-preservation. You do not need to carry their burdens, nor should you allow their unwillingness to change to disturb your peace. Ask yourself, how much energy have you spent trying to change others? How often have you allowed their resistance to erode your patience, your calm? It is time to reclaim that energy, to refocus it on what is within your control, your own growth, your own virtue. When others see the peace and strength you cultivate, they may be inspired to embark on their own journey of transformation. But remember, the timing is not yours to decide, it is theirs. In the end, people will change when they are ready, and not a moment sooner. The Stoic accepts this with grace, choosing to lead by example, offering understanding without expectation. Let go of the need to force change in others, and instead, continue on your own path of growth. For it is through your own steady transformation that you may gently encourage those around you to seek their own. True change is rare and precious, and it happens only when a person is ready to look within. Until then, we must practice patience, empathy, and above all, acceptance. As we come to the end of this journey, ask yourself, have you truly accepted the complexity of human nature? Life is not a simple path, and neither are the people we encounter along the way. Each person is a mosaic of experiences, emotions, flaws, and virtues. To expect simplicity in others is to deny the very nature of existence itself. But to embrace this complexity with wisdom and patience is to walk the Stoic path. Human beings are contradictory, unpredictable, and imperfect, but this is not a cause for despair. It is instead an invitation to cultivate deeper understanding, to look beyond the surface of people's actions and see the intricate layers of their motivations and struggles. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Thus, we must fill our minds with thoughts that encourage acceptance, compassion, and clarity rather than judgment or frustration. Through Stoic wisdom, we learn that the key to peace is not in controlling others or changing the world to fit our expectations, but in adjusting our own perspectives. We do not need to fight against human complexity. We need to navigate it with calm and grace. The harsh truths about people, that they are often self-interested, driven by insecurity, resistant to change, are not burdens but opportunities for growth. Each interaction, no matter how difficult, offers a chance to practice virtue, to refine our character, and to embody the Stoic ideals of patience, empathy, and resilience. Imagine the world as it truly is, not as you wish it to be. See the people around you, not as perfect beings or constant sources of frustration, but as fellow travelers on this shared journey, each facing their own battles, each striving in their own way, just as you are. By embracing the complexity of others, you free yourself from the weight of unrealistic expectations. You begin to cultivate a tranquility that no external force can disturb. So how do we carry this wisdom into our daily lives? We accept people as they are, while continuing to work on ourselves. We lead by example, demonstrating integrity, understanding, and emotional resilience, not through words, but through action. And when we encounter disappointment or betrayal, we do not crumble. We reflect, we adapt, and we move forward with strength. Let us remember, Stoicism is not about escaping the world's chaos, but about finding peace within it. The human experience is full of contradictions, but within those contradictions lies the possibility of wisdom, if only we are willing to see it. As you move through life, grounded in these principles, you will find that the complexities of others no longer disturb your soul. Instead, they become the very soil in which your inner peace and wisdom grow. Embrace human complexity, accept its challenges, and in doing so, you will find that it is not a burden, but a source of endless growth, strength, and wisdom. If you're seeking timeless wisdom to guide you through life's challenges with strength, clarity, and inner peace, then subscribe to the Ultimate Stoicism channel. Here, you'll find profound insights and practical lessons drawn from the Stoic philosophers to help you live with purpose, resilience, and tranquility. Join our growing community and let Stoic wisdom transform your life, one lesson at a time. Don't miss out. Subscribe today and take the next step on your Stoic journey.